The last thing I expected at our weekly family dinner was for my world to tilt off its axis. The table was full of laughter and the smell of roasted chicken. My wife, Isabella, beamed with pride. Our daughter, Sophia, was home with her fiancé, Leo. They looked like the perfect couple. Sophia had always been our dreamer, but that night her dreams were about to become our nightmare. As we passed the mashed potatoes, she cleared her throat. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and something else, nervousness. "Mom, Dad," she began, "Leo and I have finally started planning the wedding, and we know exactly what we want." I smiled, ready to hear about colors and flowers. I was completely unprepared for what came next. Sophia took a deep breath, her gaze fixed on me. "We've been looking at venues and planners," she said, her voice steady. "We've found the perfect team, the perfect place. It's a castle on the coast, it has everything." I nodded, encouraging her to continue, my mind picturing a nice local estate. Then she dropped the number. "We've worked out the budget," she said, as casually as if she were ordering a coffee. "For everything to be perfect, we're going to need $15 million. The fork in my hand froze halfway to my mouth. The number hung in the air, sucking all the sound out of the room. 15 million. It wasn't a request, it was a demand. A stunned silence fell over the table. Isabella was the first to speak, her voice a faint whisper. "Sophia, sweetheart, what did you just say?" Leo looked down at his plate, suddenly very interested in his green beans. I felt a cold wave wash over me, starting from my head and going all the way to my feet. My heart began to pound a slow, heavy rhythm in my chest. $15 million, Sophia repeated, a defensive edge creeping into her tone. "For the wedding, it's what we need." I finally found my voice, but it came out rough and strained. "You need, Sophia, that's not a wedding budget, that's the price of a small island." Sophia's face hardened. This was not the joyful reaction she had clearly hoped for. "This is my dream, Dad, my one and only dream wedding. I thought you'd be happy for me." She pushed her chair back slightly. "It's not just a party, it's an experience, a once-in-a-lifetime event. We have a vision." I looked at my little girl, the one I'd read bedtime stories to and taught how to ride a bike. Where was she? In her place was a woman with a spreadsheet for a heart, reciting a budget that could fund a small business. The happy family dinner atmosphere was gone, replaced by a thick, uncomfortable tension. My appetite had completely vanished. Later that night, lying awake in bed, I replayed the conversation. Isabella was asleep beside me, but I could tell by her breathing she wasn't truly resting. My mind raced. Where did this come from? We weren't poor, but we were comfortable, not wealthy. I am Daniel in my mid-50s. I had worked hard as a mid-level manager for 30 years. We had a nice house and a decent retirement fund. This one demand for a single day was more than I had earned in my entire lifetime. It felt like a physical weight on my chest. This wasn't just about money. It felt like a test of my love, and I was already failing. I thought about all we had given Sophia. Piano lessons, summer camps, a good college education. We had paid for it all without a single complaint. We never wanted her to struggle. Maybe that was our mistake. We had always said, "We want to give you the opportunities we never had." Now it seemed she had translated that into, "I deserve whatever I want, no matter the cost." Had we created this sense of entitlement by always saying yes, by shielding her from every financial hardship? The precedent was set, and now she was calling in the biggest favor of her life. The next morning, I tried to talk to Isabella about it over coffee. "She can't be serious, can she?" I asked, my voice hopeful. Isabella stirred her mug slowly. "She's serious, Daniel. You saw her face. She's been watching those lavish wedding shows and following influencers on social media. This is the new normal for her generation," I scoffed. "Normal? Isabella, that money is our retirement, it's our security, it's for emergencies." My wife looked at me, her eyes full of a mother's conflict. "I know, but it's her wedding, her only wedding. How do we say no?" A few days later, Sophia sent me a link to a digital wedding planner. I clicked on it with a sense of dread. It was worse than I imagined. The document was 50 pages long. There was a line item for ice sculptures of the couple's favorite animals, another for doves that would be released at the exact moment they kissed. There was a famous singer she wanted to fly in for a private performance. The flowers alone cost more than my first house. This wasn't a wedding, it was a royal coronation. And I was expected to fund the entire empire. I knew I had to have a calm, rational conversation with her. I invited her over for lunch, just the two of us. When she arrived, she was all smiles, assuming I had come around. We made small talk until we sat down. "Sophia," I started, choosing my words carefully. "About the wedding, your mother and I love you so much. We want to give you a beautiful day, but 15 million, it's just not possible." I suggested a beautiful local botanical garden I knew she liked. Her smile vanished instantly. Her reaction was swift and emotional. "Not possible," she repeated, her voice rising. "Or you just don't want to? This is my dream, Dad. You've always supported my dreams. Why are you stopping now?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Leo's parents are contributing too, but they said you were handling the bulk of it. I promised him you would. You're embarrassing me." My heart ached at her tears, but my mind screamed in panic. She had promised my money to someone else without even asking me. The pressure was immense. "Sophia, this isn't about not loving you," I said, my own voice trembling. "Let me show you what that money means." I pulled out a notepad. "This is our retirement fund. If we give you this money, your mother and I have to work until we're 80. We have to sell the house. We have no safety net if one of us gets sick." I looked at her, pleading for understanding. "Is one day, even the most perfect day, worth your parents' entire future and security?" She crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic. You always find a way. You're just trying to guilt-trip me." The fallout began quickly. Leo called me, his tone polite but firm. "Sir, I understand it's a lot, but this is really important to Sophia. I thought we were all on the same page." I felt ganged up on. My own daughter had turned my future son-in-law against me over a budget. Isabella was caught in the middle, trying to be the peacemaker, but the stress was wearing her down. Our quiet home was now a battlefield of tense phone calls and silent treatments. The happy pre-wedding period I had imagined was a complete fiction. I felt torn in two. One part of me, the father, wanted to move heaven and earth to see his little girl smile. I remembered her as a 5-year-old in a princess costume, and I would have given her the moon. The other part of me, the practical man who had saved and planned for decades, knew this was financial suicide. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the principle. Where do you draw the line? When does support become self-destruction? I spent sleepless nights wrestling with this impossible choice. I decided to seek advice from my oldest friend, Michael. We met for a round of golf, but I couldn't concentrate. I told him the whole story. He whistled low. 15 million. Daniel, that's insane. You have to say no. He put a hand on my shoulder. Love doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. She's an adult. She needs to understand the real world. His words were a comfort. It was the first time someone had validated my feelings instead of making me feel like a cheap, unloving father. Buoyed by Michael's support, I sat down with Isabella for a serious talk. "We have to be united on this," I told her. "If we give in, we are not just giving away money. We are giving away our future, our peace of mind. And what lesson does that teach her?" Isabella finally agreed, though her mother's heart was breaking. "You're right," she said, tears in her eyes. "We can offer her a generous amount, a beautiful wedding within our means, but we cannot give her everything." For the first time in weeks, we were a team again. We arranged a family meeting with Sophia and Leo. I started by telling Sophia how much we loved her and how excited we were for her marriage. Then I laid out our final offer. "We want to give you a wonderful gift for your wedding. We can give you $150,000. It is a huge amount of money, and you can have a stunning, beautiful wedding with it." The number hung in the air. It was more than most people get, but it was a fraction of what she demanded. Sophia's face fell into a mask of pure disbelief. The silence was broken by a sound I never thought I'd hear from my daughter, a bitter, cold laugh. 150,000, she said, her voice dripping with scorn. "That might cover the napkins for the wedding I want. I can't believe you. You're choosing money over my happiness." She stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Leo stood with her. "If you can't support my dream, then maybe you shouldn't be at my wedding at all." With those words, she turned and walked out of our house, and seemingly out of our lives. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. My daughter wasn't speaking to me. Isabella was heartbroken, crying when she thought I couldn't hear. The house felt empty and cold. Had I made the right choice? Was I a stubborn old fool who had lost his daughter over money? The guilt was a constant, gnawing presence. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her, ready to talk. But it was never her. The silence was a punishment I hadn't known I could fear so much. We learned from a family friend that Sophia and Leo were scrambling to plan a smaller wedding, but they were angry and resentful. They had told their friends a version of the story where we were withholding support because we didn't approve of Leo, which wasn't true at all. It hurt to be painted as the villain. It felt like she was trying to force our hand by turning people against us. The manipulation cut deeper than the initial demand. This was no longer about a wedding. It was a battle of wills. A month passed. The standoff continued. Then a letter arrived in the mail. It was from our financial advisor, outlining our retirement plan projections. Seeing the numbers on paper, the clear path to a secure and comfortable future, solidified my resolve. I realized my duty wasn't just to be my daughter's bank. It was also to be a good husband to Isabella and to be responsible for myself. I couldn't be a burden on my child in my old age because I spent my nest egg on her party. The letter was a cold, hard dose of reality that I needed. The breakthrough came from an unexpected place, Leo. He called me one evening. "Sir, can we talk?" He sounded tired. We met for coffee. "I think I get it now," he said. "Sophia and I have been fighting about money nonstop. We're already in debt from the deposits we put down, thinking you'd pay us back. It's a mess." He admitted he was scared. He saw how stressed Sophia was, how the dream wedding was consuming her. For the first time, he was seeing the cost beyond the dollar amount. Leo's honesty gave me a sliver of hope. I asked him a simple question. "Do you love my daughter?" He looked surprised. "Of course I do, more than anything." "Then what's more important?" I asked gently. "A perfect day with ice swans or a perfect marriage that starts without a mountain of debt and resentment?" He was quiet for a long time. I could see the wheels turning. He was realizing that the wedding is just one day, but a marriage is a lifetime. He thanked me and left, looking more thoughtful than angry. A week later, Sophia showed up at our door. Her eyes were red from crying, but she looked calmer. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. We sat in the living room. "I talked to Leo," she began. "He made me see things differently. I've been a monster." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I was so caught up in the fantasy, in what everyone else was doing, that I lost sight of what really matters. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm sorry for the horrible things I said." I reached out and took her hand, my own eyes stinging. We talked for hours. We talked about real life, about mortgages, about saving for your future children's education. We talked about how love is shown in many ways, not just in grand, expensive gestures. I told her again how much we loved her and how we wanted to be a part of her life and her marriage. We agreed to use the money we had offered to help them with a beautiful wedding and also with a down payment on a house. It was a compromise, a true partnership. Sophia's wedding was last month. It was held in a beautiful vineyard surrounded by family and close friends. There were no ice sculptures or famous singers. There was just love, so much love. When I walked her down the aisle, she squeezed my arm and whispered, "Thank you, Dad, for everything." In that moment, I knew we had made the right choice. The dream wedding wasn't in a castle by the sea. It was right here. We didn't just save our money that day. We saved our relationship. And that was worth more than any price tag.